Okay.
All right. Good morning. Today is Daf Kufyud Beis.
Yeah. I'm at base.
I'm an Aleph towards the top. I think top line, third word.
Oh, okay.
All right. Share today should be discussed for a full shleim to those that need. So Dr. Gemara. Ravad Barava Masnila Derami Barachama Aha. So that which we saw yesterday, which we're soon going to see right now, he actually was not taught on the missions we had yesterday, as we'll soon explain. Rather, going on a separate price. What was the case over there? So we talked about the case of yesterday. The father stole something and then left it to his sons, and then he died. The question is, do they have to return it or not? So Rav Rechama says it wasn't needed, but some say Rav Rechama wasn't talking. I already did it. Oh, yeah, before you got it. Sure. So Rav Rechama was not. No, didn't do with our Mishnah. He actually said in this brisa. So if the father, right, or got money on interest, and then he died. So even though that you know that the money is from interest, so you don't have to go ahead and return the money. And Rav Rechama says, this must mean that an inheritor is just like a purchaser. Just like a purchaser, it's like a new owner, and therefore you're not really obligated for the transactions, right? Or anything that the seller did. So over here, so the Yaresh also was not responsible for the fact that it was ribis. He doesn't return it. And Rav Amar said, Rav says, no, really, we don't say he's like a buyer. So if he's not a buyer, he's like his father, just like the father before he died should have returned the interest. So too, his Yaresh should return it after his death. However, the Shani Hachal here is different. The pasuk says, "Tikach mita neshach v'tarbis ahadurle." Says, don't take from him ribis and return it to him. So right. So now is you who took the interest, you are commanded to return it. However, lebre to his son, the Torah says you do not have to go ahead and return it. So in other words, no, maybe the case of interest is different because it specifically says the person who took money, right? He lent out money of interest, he should go ahead and return that interest, but that obligation is not on the son, therefore the son can keep it. And man the masiva abraisa, the one who taught this discussion on Rechama on this brisa, Kolshken and Masnisin, certainly on the Mishnah when it was not talking about ribis v'yasivasvara. However, man the masiva amisa, but the one that we learned yesterday on Rechama, that discussion was going on Mishnah about maybe it could be a brisa, Rabbi Rechama karava masiva. Could be that Rabbi Rechama would hold like really you don't have to return it, even though normally you do, but over here you don't have to return it because the Torah only commands the person who charged interest to return it, but not necessarily his son. Fine. Yeah.
It's different than you say because the same time is it has to return it.
Right. So it says Vaheshin is exam, which we're soon going to see, but that's so we're soon going to be. We actually saw yesterday also be mechalik whether that item is still in existence or not. In other words, that when you steal an item, right? When I charge interest in money, so money is not considered to be, even though if I
it's fungible,
right, it's fungible. No, it's even if I took your $100, the $100 bill is sitting right here, it's not considered to be be'ed. It's not considered to be in existence because it's considered to be part of my assets, right? A stolen object question is it still there or is it part of the assets? So once it gets, part of the assets, i.e., it's sha'achlua, as we saw yesterday, it's different. So if it was already consumed, then it becomes different. But it's a good point. Cut it up on around a third of the way down. And Kufyud Beis and Aleph, Hagoizel Machlas Banov. So speaking of which, a person goes ahead. We're now going back to the theft cases. One who goes ahead and steals, and he goes ahead and gets his children to go ahead and consume it and eat it. And he dies. They're patur, go ahead and pay it. If they, however, he left in front of them and they were gedolim, they were adults, then chayavim l'shalim. They have to go ahead and return it. And ketanim, however, if they're ketanim, paturim l'shalim. If they're minors, then they're patur from paying. We don't go ahead and bring the court, right? There's no baldin in the matter. It was a sunsi. If they say, if the sons who were gedolim, they were adults, they say, so I said, but even if, let's say he left the item, and he left adult sons, but they say, hey, we don't know any of the dealings between our father and you, they're patur from paying. So the Gemara asks, Shub, the Amar, ain't on a Yodim Turim. What they say, because we don't know, they're patur from paying. That doesn't make sense. Amarava, Hachi comes to say, Gedolim Shamru, that was just like Gedolim. Yoidim Anu, if the adult children say, Yoidim Anu Cheshbon Shechishiv Avicha Imcha, we know all our fathers Cheshbonos that he had with you, and he owes you nothing else. Then if they have such argument, then they're pater from paying from the this stolen item from the that they inherited from their father. And Tani
But they don't have to pay the chumah, right?
No, they don't even have to pay back the carrot.
Just
the carrot. Right, but they don't have to pay it back. There is no chemish. There's no shvur here. Here's the shaila of whether you pay back the gazela or not.
Who did the stealing?
No Hashem here. There's no chemish. We're just talking about the gazela. If someone else stole it, the father stole it. He died.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So what do you want from me? My father stole it. Go ask him. You want to go ask him? He's in the grave. What do you want from me? Right.
So do they have to pay?
So my question's over here, right? So right. So if it was consumed,
Were they minor? What if they were
if they're
adults?
minors, so
They don't pay.
if they're adults, so
They
we
have to-
said if the item was in existence and they were adults and they don't claim that their father
Was not a
owed them anymore, in other words, they don't have that claim because we don't know, and the item is still there. So all right, I guess take the item. Only good. So tiny another price on Bana. One who goes ahead and steals and he feeds his kids, then he dies, he was part from paying. But however, if it was not consumed, he left the item in front of him, the bicycle, or excuse me, the aklum, and then right, they ate it. They have to go ahead and return it. The Gemara says katanim. Understand if they left it in front of them, right? Right? Understand? Well, how could you say the katanim have to go ahead and pay it back, right, out of pocket if they consumed it? Lo yela the azik azuke, right? In other words, they should be any less than a minor who causes damage, and a minor who causes damage is putter. So why, if a minor who causes damage is putter, certainly over here that they should putter. So if he left the item in front of them, and it was not yet consumed, and then they have to return that object because it's right sitting over there on the table. And Omar Rabba, Avihem, Para, Shula. Let's say a father went ahead and he left. He was borrowing something. He borrowed, let's say, a cow for a week, right? He went ahead and anyway, right? He went ahead. He borrowed someone's cow, right, for a week, and the guy died on Monday, so he still has another 6 days of the rental. So Mishtab Shimba, Kol Yemei Sheilaza. So you can go ahead and use it, use the what's it called? Use the animal throughout the period of the rental. However, if it died, Mesa ain't chayvin ba'insa. He is not chayiv for the einus. If it died, right, then it's unnatural. Then it's not chayiv einus. Surim shall be now. However, so that's case one. Like Surim shall be he. So let's say they thought it was the father's. They didn't know he was borrowing it. Rather, they thought it was his. They ate it. The shalom dmei basar bazul. Go ahead and they pay the cheap meat. They don't pay the full amount of the meat right over here. Right? They don't go ahead and pay the full amount. Rather, the cheap amount, because the full amount, then perhaps they wouldn't after a shechted they wouldn't go ahead and eat it. So therefore, they pay not the market rate, but like 2/3 of the market rate. Now, but if let's say that he left land in addition to this animal that he left over to them, which he was borrowing, which they didn't know, obviously as a shepherd, but he also left them land, then you have to go ahead and pay. Why? Because the father left the land, which is an asset, and therefore you can go ahead and pay from the land. So Ika, the Masni law ratio. Now, what this part of what should be said, that the father left it to them, and they have to pay. Now, there's two parts we just said they're putter. The Reisha said that if you borrowed it and it died naturally, you don't have to pay, right? That was the Reisha. The Seifa just said that if you thought the kids thought it was the father's and the shechted ate it, they only have to pay the cheap price. They don't have to pay anything more. So now, and this last statement, if you left the land, they have to pay. Which one are they going on, the Reisha or the Seifa? So you could the masala reisha. So those that say it goes on the reisha, you could the masala seifa, and those that say it's going only in the last part. So mad the reisha, the one who says it's going in the reisha, if it dies naturally while he's using it, then you're pater paying. Kolshke the seifa, certainly you're pater from paying in the safe. Kolshke, certainly you're in that case. In In other words, you'd be chayiv to pay from the land if you went ahead and shechted it. We'll plead Rav Papa. We'll argue with Rav Papa, as we're soon going to see. Rav Papa will say that in such a case, you would actually be pater from paying because the two things came at the same time. And Madamasa Seifa, and the other opinion that says that's only going Seifa, you have to pay for the land. In other words, if you shechted it, you thought it. But in the case of the ratio, low, even if you left land, then you would not pay behind it. Rav Papa. This would be like Rav Papa. What did Rav Papa say? So Haisa Paraganuva loy. A person stole an animal on Friday. And he went shechted on Shabbos. Now, what is the halacha for Geneva? Geneva is I steal something, I'm chayav to pay kefil, right? Mm-hmm. If I go ahead and shecht it or eat it, what am I chayav now? 4 or 5, right? So now, if I stole it on Friday, so that was when the theft was. When I shechted it, even though normally there's a halacha kilev d'rabbanan, right? So you can only be chayav for the more severe, death penalty, right? You did on Shabbos, right? That's about to talk about Shabbos, right? Chayav, why? He's chayav to pay. Shekfar chayav b'gneva kaidem sheyavel l'dei for Shabbos because he was already chayav for the kefel. So once already chayav for the kefel, you pay the knas, which would be 4 or 5. However, haisa parashula, but if it was borrowed low, and then if it's over Shabbos, so it's borrowed. I didn't steal yet. When do I steal it as a borrower? When I shech it. So therefore, the time of the Shrita was the same time as the Geneva, which is the same time as Shabbos, and therefore, Pater, Isser Shabbos, Isser Geneva, by Kefir, because those come at the same time. So therefore, Rav Papa says, when you borrow something,
right,
it doesn't go from the time that you borrow it, right? That's not when the Shas of the Geneva is. The Shas of the Geneva is now when he did the Shrita, right? That's when I took it out of borrowing, and now all of a sudden, I stole it to put in my property. So therefore, in that case, so we would apply Rav Papa in the other case over there, if the father had a case of a borrowed cow, so as long as it was still borrowed, borrowed. They didn't do anything yet, so therefore they'd be putter to pay in that case. Putter Rabban. V'heishiv is like Zeh. Now when it comes to cases, so it says over there, V'heishiv return the Gzela Asher Gaza Samatam Olam Asher Gaza. Why say the words Asher Gaza? So Yachzer Kin Asher Gaza. Go ahead and return to the condition that was set. Mikan Amru. Oh, here we say that if one goes ahead and steals and feeds his kids, so that he died as patim mishalim. However, but if the item was still there, then then they are chayav to go ahead and return the object. Katanim says Sumchus. Katanim also pater. I don't care if I stole this cup of coffee and it's sitting here, and then so the kids says, then they say, okay, to the 11-year-old boys, okay, go ahead, return the cup of coffee. He says, no, your pater, says Sumchus. You're always Katanim are always pater because they are not considered to, as we'll see, a litigant in court. There's no, it's a man versus nobody, so you can't have someone without a baldin since they're minors. You can't go ahead and take it from them, as we'll soon see in this case. So Bar Chamua Rabbi Yirmiyah Tarak Gali Be'aped Rabbi Yirmiyah. So the son of Rabbi Yirmiyah's father-in-law, i.e., his brother-in-law, basically, who was a minor. So now the father-in-law died, and I guess he had a daughter, right, who was married to Rabbi Yirmiyah, and who Rabbi Yirmiyah claims that dad sold his estate to us, and the katan, who was his brother-in-law, took it. And he said it was his. So also the Kamid Rabbi Yavi came from Rabbi Yavi and Samar Amalei Shalom Tuveya, right? He said it's his, right? The minor said it's his. So Amalei I've Masniya Sadi Dachzi Bey Bachai Davua. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring witnesses that will say that he sold it to his son-in-law, myself, Rabbi Yirmiyah. I'm going to bring witnesses. So Amalei B'chimechablim Edim Shalom B'fei Balpik. Well, how can you bring witnesses here? There's no baldin on the other side. There's no person on the other side. Why? The person on the other side is 11 years old, and 11 years old can't go to court. So it's like you're bringing witnesses against somebody, right, against a defendant who's not in court, and you can't do that. So how could you bring witnesses later on? The says, I below, and I can't vote Tani, it says over there in the case if someone leaves an object over, you have to go ahead and return it, right? That's what he says. Well, what do you mean? We just did machlokes, and Sumchus says you can never take from Katana. So over here, right, you can't take from Katana. So Amar Yichba Kuliyam of the Koy Sumchus, Lafkina Ladidi. What, you're going to say halachas like Sumchus that you can't take away from a katan? No, the Rabbanan say you could take it away, so I should be able to take the estate. Why are you ruling Sumchus just to go against me? Meanwhile, Gilgal Milso also. And this matter came to the Kamid Ravo, it came from Ravo, and Amar. So he said, what did he say? Says Lo Shmulachu Had Rav Yosef Bar Chama. You never heard that which Rav Yosef Bar Chama says. Amar Rav Yoshia. Then Rav Yosef Bar Chama Rav Yoshia. Tinok Shetakav Biavdav Yarda Sechsada Shechaver. A miner who goes ahead, he takes his avadim and he plops down on a field and he says Shalihu, and he says it's mine. This is mine. I have claims to it. This 10-year-old kid. Ain't Yagdil. We don't say, okay, let's wait till he gets 13, then we'll take him to court. Ella rather might see me. Yad, we kick him out right away. And when he gets 13, then we'll go ahead and we'll try the case. But meanwhile, kick him out. So to over here, kick out my brother-in-law, right? He's 10 years old. Kick him out because I bought it. And then when he's 13, he has claims. He'll bring his proofs. This is me, dummy. Over there, the child, the minor in that case with the avodim, just took a field that did not belong to his father. But over here, right, where this child, his father had a chazaka on this house, right? So maybe then we cannot go ahead and just kick out the child and say, okay, wait till he's 13 until we try the case. And Amar Rav Ashi, Rav Shafsai, Mekablim Eidim Shaloi B'fnei Baldin. We do accept witnesses not in front of the other Baldin. So today, Rav Yechon became a Mekablim Eidim Shaloi B'fnei Baldin. So this makes sense. But you're only going to have one-sided argument in court. So he says, no, this is a Rabbi Yisrael Chanina learned. Kegoyin shahaya hu chayla. In other words, when we say that the plaintiff, let's say, is sick, or the witnesses are sick, and they won't be able to make it in time, or they want to go ahead and leave, all right, and then they sent for them and they can't come. So then we tried the case. In other words, if we intend to go ahead and bring them and there's an excuse why they can't come, then the case must go on. Otherwise, then soon you won't have these witnesses or the plaintiff around because he's sick. And we are makabel witnesses not in front of the other baldin. So it was taught out Shmuel says, we're talking about a case where they started the case, once they started, then they sent for him to come again, he doesn't come, then he go ahead and try without him. But if he didn't even start the trial, then he's allowed to say, I want to go ahead and use a bigger basin. I don't like this local basin. The rabbis aren't big enough to Talmid Chachamim. I want to go to the grand basin. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, even if they start the case, why can't he say even in court? I want to go to the big basin. So Rabbi Kigai Dinaka Diska mi Beis Agadol, but basically there's a ruling from the Beis Agadol that says you should use this local basin. So in that case, once it started, then he can no longer say, "Hey, I want to move to a different court." And Omar Ram, Mekayim is the shtar shalom fnei baldin. We can go ahead and be Mekayim a shtar without the baldin being there. Rabbi Yechon Amar, Mekayim is a shtar shalom fnei baldin. No, you can't go ahead and what's the word I'm looking for? Mekayim is certify. Thank you. Right, you can't go ahead and certify the shtar without the Bauer, right? The baldin there. And I was a certified shtar that he owes money, so he should be around. So I'm going to explain to the reason Rabbi Yechon. So the pasuk says, "V'hua the bala v'leishmrenu." So the Torah says, when you warn the owner of an animal, right, that you have to warn it. He didn't guard it. So I'm a Torah Yobo Bala Shor v'Yamin al Shoro. Right. In other words, the owner of the animal is standing there by his shore. That's what the pasuk is telling you. So over here, if you're going to go ahead and say, hey, now you have something against you, i.e. the shtar is something against you, so have the person who's responsible be there. Just like when you have something wrong with this shore, caused damage, it's going to be against the owner. When the owner has to be there. So over here, here's the shtar, it's going against you. The owner of the shtar or the power of the shtar should be there. And all my Rabba says, Rabbi Hilchos Mekayim is a shtar shalom b'fnei baldin. We are Mekayim a shtar, not in front of a baldin. V'afilu aymed v'tzavach. And even if he's saying, hey, what are you doing? Why are you going ahead and being Mekayim a shtar? All right, you can't do it. And even if he's yelling, hey, give me a few minutes, or a few days. I'm going to go ahead and bring witnesses basically to say that this is forged. And I'm going to go ahead and ruin the shtar. Okay, we'll give him. You need time? No problem. We'll give you some time. You want you to bring witnesses to say that it's forged? Fine, no problem. And he also, and if he comes back and returns, great. Now he has his witnesses and he can prove his innocence. Beautiful. And he lost it. If he doesn't come, then not delay. We wait for him. Bays, hey, Bays, Bahab, right? We on Monday, a Thursday, the next Monday, and those are the days that the courts are sitting. And he if he doesn't come, then Kasvina, Pesicha, Alet, Tisha Yamim, right? We give him basically, we write a 90-day excommunication against him. Why 90 days? And you can't, and basically during those 90 days, we can't go ahead and and seize the property from the document. Why is that? So plus the first 30 days, he can't go ahead and his nechasim to go ahead and collect. Maybe he's going ahead to collect the money to pay it out. So therefore, let's give him 30 days. And let's see also the middle 30 days between days 30 and 60. And also let's say we also don't go ahead and seize his nechasim to go ahead and pay back this star that was against him. Perhaps he doesn't have the cash, but he's arranging a sale of his property. And therefore, he's arranging sale of property to come up with the money to pay, and therefore don't go ahead and seize his assets. And Basra in the last 30 days, i.e. days 60 through 90, and also they say don't go ahead and seize his assets. Why? Damar. Right? Oh, he found the buyer. Just the buyer doesn't have a loan yet. So the buyer is trying to get his money straight so he can buy the property. Then once he buys the property, then he has the money, and then he can go ahead and fulfill his obligation. And Loyasta, if he doesn't come after 90 days, Kasvina and Adrachta, Nichse, you go ahead and you write a seizure, a document, you go ahead and seize, any of his property. Vahani Mili Damar, this is one of these, only when he says, Asina, I'll come, and then we give him time, 30, 60, 90 days. Valamer Lasina, if he says, I'm not coming, Lialter Kasvina, and then we go ahead and we write it immediately. Vahani Mili Bamilv, and this is also with the loan that if he says, I'm going to come, and he doesn't come, you wait 90 days. About Pikadon, but let's say it was a Pikadon, or something else deposited him, then Lialter, you can go ahead and seize it immediately. Lialter Kasvina, then we do write it. And also that which you write is only Amakarki. That's only for land. About Mataltlilov. We don't go ahead and write it that he can go ahead and seize movable objects. Why? Dilma Shamid Vachalu Milva, right? But what's going to happen? So perhaps he's going to seize it and he's going to consume these movable objects, use them up. And then all of a sudden the Bauer finally comes. And he brings the witnesses that he claimed he had. Umar the star and ruins the star. And he says, "See, told you, I never owed you the money. Now give me back my my meat, my frozen meat." And nothing's going to be left if you allow to take metalton. So therefore, you can't let him take metalton because metalton get used up. The East Karka, however, if he does have Karki, then Lamalva Kasvina, then you could seize the assets as long as the guy who has to go ahead and collect it back from has land. However, that's not true. No, we never write a secret rewards for movable objects. Even if he has land, why is that? Right? Perhaps we're concerned. Perhaps the land will either get used up or will deteriorate, and therefore we won't be able to collect it. And the Gemara says, it also says, when he goes ahead and we write it, we inform him that we're going to go ahead and write it. That's only if he's close, but if he's far away, then there is no need to go ahead and notify him. So, and not only that, but let's say he is far away, but he has krovim. Inami or there are caravans that go back and forth, travel back and forth. It's easy. We go ahead and we even wait 12 months, right? If it's possible for him to hear and come back, we even wait for 12 months for him to go ahead. For a time for a caravan to go there and to inform them that, hey, your money, they can seize the assets and then come back and then you can deal with it. He had the Ravina like that with Ravina Shaha Lamaracha. So he gave him Maracha, Tracer Yarchishatza gave him. He gave him 12 months to go ahead and also for him to come. I see Sharasa. Then the caravan came. He Beis Fuzai, and from until basically the caravan came from Beis Fuzai, where he can go ahead and deal with the case and therefore and only then collect it. However, below we can't necessarily learn from that case. Why? Because Hasan Inish Alima Havi. Because over there, he was dealing with Maracha, who was very powerful guy. And he Havi Matia Drachta Liyade. If he would have had a seizure warrant immediately, then Loyhavi Yefshar Lafukim, they wouldn't be able to take it from him because he's strong, he was powerful. But in this case, Right, but over here we don't say you necessarily have to go ahead and wait that long, right? Ella ad yaza shlicha b'tlas b'Shabbos. Rather, let the shlich go out on Tuesday, right? V'yasa b'ara b'Shabbos. Then he's come on Wednesday, and then the Fed will come on Wednesday, and the Chamisha b'Shabbos kai b'dina. Then on Thursday they would have based it. And Abba Ravina high shlicha d'Rabbanan. If he goes ahead, a shliach d'Rabbanan, and he serves papers and he says, hey, the guy didn't want to come. He was served. He knows to come here. He's not. In other words, he's basically someone, like we said, that you don't need to give an extra 90 days if someone says I'm not coming. If he says, we believe in like 2. And this is only for a shamta to go ahead and put in like a chayram about a psicha. But however, to go ahead and write, basically to write a whole document against him and put it and excommunicate him. Since the money for the cipher is the expense of the person who's excommunicated, then but if since that goes against him, he has to write it. Therefore, he's responsible. So therefore, we can't necessarily go ahead and believe the shliach basin that the guy refused and start charging a sofer on that guy's account. So that we don't do, but stop to put him in a verbal shabta. That we do. All right, we'll stop over here.
He has to pay.
So the Hashem, we will continue.
Yes.